holy sweet mother of God shit. Hello. What the hell are you doing?
I hope no one's eating dinner.
The Next Best Thing, every Monday night from 10 until midnight on Radio Free Brooklyn. Fun for everyone except for...
Dear Jesus.
Something like that.
The Chiefs are number one.
We're number one, and don't you forget it, mister. We're the champions of the world. We come from Kansas City, and we haven't any pity. When we wreck 'em, they are permanently wrecked. When the going gets the roughest, that's when the Chiefs are toughest. So be sensible and treat us with respect. Yes, we're number one, and you can believe it, mister, when we tell you loud and clear that we're having so much fun being number one. We've decided to be number one again this year.
We're number one.
Oh, don't you forget it, mister.
We're the champions of the world.
We come from Kansas City, and we haven't any pity.
When we wreck 'em, they are permanently wrecked. When the goal gets the roughest,
that's when the Chiefs are toughest. So be sensible and treat us with respect. 'Cause we're number one, and you can believe it, mister, when we tell you loud and clear that we're having so much fun being number one. We're gonna be number one again this year.
The Chiefs are number one.
Oh, yes, holy sweet mother of God, the Chiefs are number one once again. Folks, thanks for listening to Radio Free Brooklyn. Thanks for listening to The Next Best Thing. I'm your host, Jonathan B. Lerner, keeping you company every Monday night from 10 until midnight right here on Radio Free Brooklyn. Folks, let's talk a little bit about football. Are you ready for some football? I know you probably aren't a huge football fan if you're listening to Radio Free Brooklyn, not to paint you with a broad brush or whatever. But I just have to talk about it a little bit because this is my weekly therapy session, and I need some listening ears. Okay, I gotta get something off my fat, sweaty chest. Okay. So, yes, the Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl.
This game is over, and you can doubt the Chiefs. You can dislike the Chiefs. You can disrespect the Chiefs. You're going to have to deal with the Chiefs being the AFC champions for the fourth time in 5 seasons. The Chiefs have the Lamar Hunt Trophy, and they're taking it to Vegas for Super Bowl 58.
Now, that is weird even for me to say as a diehard Chiefs fan, a native Kansas Citian. Look, I get it. Everyone is so sick of the Chiefs. Suddenly we all hate the Chiefs. Enough of the Chiefs. Taylor Swift is so annoying, the Chiefs can suck my nuts. Well, remarkable. It's remarkable to me how fast the tables can turn. I mean, give me a break. Right after the 2019 season, when the Chiefs finally made it to the Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years. Well, back then, it was all about the upstart Chiefs. And it was this feel-good story about a franchise that had been so snake-bitten for so long, and how they finally were getting their chance in the sun. Everyone seemed like they were supporting my hometown team. There was a survey. Who are you supporting in the AFC Championship game? The whole world was supporting the Chiefs. It was heartwarming and beautiful. Well, here we are, just 4 years later, and people suddenly have gone from supporting these upstart Chiefs to hating us. We're obnoxious, we're pompous, these goddamn Chiefs.
I know people are very tired of the Chiefs. The whole country starts to hate you.
Like everyone was rooting against the Chiefs. That's the next step in greatness where the whole world do not want you to succeed anymore.
Yeah, it's them against the world, quite literally.
The Kansas City Chiefs. With Taylor Swift and the Swifties in cargo right next to them. I hate that team! I'm not gonna watch the Super Bowl because they're on it. Travis Kelce, Experian Travis, Subway Travis. I hate this guy. I ain't gonna watch him.
And that was pretty tame. Those were some of the nicer negative comments. Look, I want to just say a couple of things. First and foremost, I get it to a degree. This past season, when Taylor Swift entered the equation and she started being talked about nonstop and shown 19 times every time she went to a game, and even after the fact. I mean, if Taylor Swift goes to an event, whether it's a Chiefs game or anything else, I see articles about it days later about, well, she went to this event and here's what happened at this point, and here's what happened at that point, and here's what happened after she went to the event, and here's what's going to happen maybe next time she goes to an event. I get it. That annoyed me too, but for different reasons. It annoyed me because if you remember, the Chiefs were not playing great this past season. And so, yes, and frankly, Travis Kelce, who's a star, one of our staples. He is just a standard in our team, and we rely on him a lot, and he was not playing well. And so I thought clearly he is distracted. He's also getting older, but he's distracted, and I did not like it. So it annoyed me a lot. And frankly, I'll also say, and this is something I noticed very early on. I even noticed this last year when it was really just Patrick Mahomes. But man, oh man, when I watch a football game, whether it's the Chiefs or any other team, every goddamn commercial has either Patrick, Travis, our coach Andy Reid, or a combination of the three in it. Do. State Farm, Head and Shoulders, Pfizer, Experian, Oakley. The list goes on and on. And again, when we weren't playing well and I would see them in all of these commercials, I'd think, God damn it, get your fucking ass off the commercial set and fucking focus. God damn it. I'm very crazy. Okay, so I get it to a degree, but that's not what the world is thinking. They're just tired of seeing guys who beat their teams. That's really what this comes down to. And I do get that. When the Patriots were dominant and when they were winning or going to Super Bowls almost every year for 20 years, which, by the way, very different than this run with the Chiefs. We've been good for 5 years, 6 years. They were dominant for 20. So to say that we are now the Patriots, it's a little early. Okay. I'll just say that it's a little early, but more than any of that. And I know that it's going to be hollow for people to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I really wish people would keep a couple of things in mind. First and foremost, and I did mention this last week, but I'm going to say it again for the love of God. This team was absolutely cursed for my entire life. I'm using a new microphone, so if this is really loud, I apologize. This team was absolutely cursed for my entire life. Right up through age 0 through 32. We never even sniffed a Super Bowl. A Snooper Bowl? We never even sniffed the Super Bowl. The very idea of the Kansas City Chiefs, my Kansas City Chiefs, playing in a Super Bowl was akin to seeing pigs fly or having time machines commercially available in real life. It was a fun, almost mystical thing to think about, but it was never going to actually happen. It was Alice in Wonderland. It was The Wizard of Oz. It was fantasy, imaginary, never gonna happen. The misfortune and the factory of sadness that was the Kansas City Chiefs was so widely known and recognized, in fact, that in 2009, when the NFL Network produced an episode of their top 10 shows, it was the NFL Network, they do this documentary series. It's the top 10 ... And every episode, they'll go through a list of the top 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time, the top 10 greatest teams, greatest coaches, greatest rivalries, and so on. Well, in 2009, they did an episode, the top 10 most snake-bitten franchises of all time. And guess who came in at number 9?
Number 9 snake-bit franchise of all time, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Let's go, Chiefs!
The first 4 Super Bowls, Kansas City was in 2 of them.
Just keep matriculating the ball down the field, boys.
Who would have ever thought that you wouldn't be back in a Super Bowl?
2 years after winning Super Bowl IV, the Chiefs were again knocking on the door.
They lose the longest game ever played at home.
There's no reason we should have lost a football game.
Oh, God! He missed it!
Still hurts, to tell you the truth.
The god of football somewhere decided that they're just going to let Miami win that game. We just never seemed to get that swagger back after that loss.
Well, how do we act on the days we don't play well?
Following the loss, the Chiefs trudged through an over 2-decade run of irrelevance. Perhaps that was easier for fans than the pain experienced in the 90s.
The 93 AFC Championship game, which would put us in the Super Bowl, we were playing in Buffalo.
I remember a play right before halftime where Montana throws a pass.
It was a pass to the fullback in the end zone that he dropped.
And it's dropped and intercepted by the Bills.
By halftime, Joe Montana has been hit and had a concussion, and he never comes back.
I'm not so sure if Anders doesn't catch that ball that the Chiefs don't win that game.
1995, you have home field advantage. You have a very beatable, indoor, domed Colts team. You've got them outside, it's freezing, and you lose because of Lynn Elliott.
It's wide left! The Colts are going to Pittsburgh!
Our kicker missed 3 field goals, chip shot.
The mighty Chiefs have fallen to the Colts.
That's snake bit.
Look at me, Derek. You gotta forget it. It broke my heart because we were a much better football team than they were.
If you don't forget it, it'll gnaw at you.
2 years later, again with the number 1 seed, again the better team, again a one-and-done run.
So, pass is going to be knocked away. Incomplete.
It's hard for me to talk about those years. They're kind of painful years.
That's over. We can't do anything about it.
I believe that Marty Schottenheimer had some kind of mental block in winning the playoffs. Simple as that.
You either get better or you get worse.
You have to have a little luck along the way. And, you know, if it wasn't for bad luck, Marty wouldn't have any at all.
You want a piece of that championship? Put it in here.
It's just the beginning.
A new regime turned the Chiefs into an offensive powerhouse. In 2003, they started 9-0, but suffered yet another playoff disappointment to the Colts.
And maybe that horseshoe that hangs on their helmet, we should put it on ours for some luck.
Maybe we aren't as good as we thought we were.
It is gut-wrenching for Chiefs Nation every year to see somebody else hand the Lamar Hunt Trophy to another coach, to another team.
For gosh sake, it's about our turn.
I don't know if I particularly believe in karma, but there just seems like there's a kind of a bad karma around this organization.
Good God, those are former Chiefs players saying, I don't know, but I just think maybe there's bad karma around this organization. I mean, Jesus, that's how crazy, bad, and factory of sadness like it was for the Chiefs. And don't get me wrong, the Chiefs are Chiefs fans. By the way, you just heard someone refer to Chiefs Nation. That makes me cringe. Wrong. It is Chiefs Kingdom. Get it right or pay the price, motherfucker. But that just goes to show you I mean, that was the NFL network who produced this. They widely recognized that this franchise was snake-bitten. And what was worse is that, in my life, from the time I was born through age really, 2015, so when I was like almost 30 years old. Wait a second. Almost 30, not quite. We didn't even win a playoff game. Okay. In 1993, when I was just a mere babe, Joe Montana played for us, and we did get to the AFC Championship game. He got a concussion. We lost. That was it. We never won a playoff game again. Not until Patrick Mahomes came along. I mentioned to you that clip you just heard, the episode from the NFL Network, that was produced in 2009. Okay. So the prolonged pain and misery did not end there. In fact, not even close. It went on and on and on for another 10 years. Want proof? Here it is. Here's a clip from back in 2018, right after the Chiefs lost yet another inexplicable, heart-shattering playoff game, this time to the Tennessee Titans. Okay, this clip is from First Things First, a show on Fox Sports 1. One of the hosts, his name is Nick Wright. He just happens to be from Kansas City and is a big Chiefs fan. He perfectly, you can hear the pain in his voice in this clip. It perfectly portrays how all Chiefs fans were feeling back on this 8th day of January in 2018. 2018, just barely 6 years ago.
It was a 4 to 8 cigarette, 3 to 6 vodka type of second half for me. The
Chiefs are trying to kill you.
They're literally trying to kill him.
Just give me a moment here, if you would. In NFL history,
I'm sorry. Just listen to his co-hosts. A joke. The Chiefs' misery had become a joke. A joke to everyone else.
4 times. Just give me a moment here, if you would. In NFL history, 4 times a team's blown a playoff game where they had an 18-point lead at halftime or greater. 2 of them were some of the most memorable games ever. The Frank Reich game. Remember that one, CC?
Oh, that was an amazing game.
How about last year's Super Bowl? That one's pretty memorable. And
last year's Super Bowl. At that time, the Super Bowl he's referring to was when the New England Patriots played the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons were up by, I can't remember exactly, but I believe it's well over 18 points, and the Patriots came back. So he just mentioned there's 4 times in history that a playoff team had been leading by 18 points or more. He named the 2 games. Here are the other 2.
The other 2 are Chiefs playoff games coached by Andy Reid in the last 4 years. I brought some props. I don't typically do that. I just want to show the camera this. That is a Joe Montana Chiefs pennant. You know why I brought it? Because Joe Montana was the quarterback the last time the Chiefs won a home playoff game. I'm going to show you something else. This is an autographed Lake Dawson jersey. Now, you might say, who's Lake Dawson? Some of his family might say, who's Lake Dawson? I'm going to bet
Notre Dame graduate, wide receiver for the Chiefs.
Only person in the world that has an autographed Lake Dawson jersey. That's how long I've loved this team. And this is what they've done to me in my memory since Joe Montana was the quarterback. How about losing a 10-7 playoff game at home where you missed 3 field goals? That's the Lynn Elliott game. How about losing a 14-10 playoff game at home against the Broncos when you blow a fourth quarter lead? How about losing a 38-31 home playoff game to the Colts? You lose a game where the other team doesn't punt the football, and you don't punt the football either. How about losing 45-44 to the Colts? They had the dignity to do that one on the road, but you blew a 28-point lead, and you gave up a critical touchdown after the quarterback fumbled the ball to himself. How about last year, where you lost a home playoff game to the Steelers, where you scored 2 touchdowns, they scored 0. That's like a bad math problem. How do you lose a game where you score twice, their team scores 0 times? And then yesterday, or whatever day it was,
Saturday,
the forward progress game. The game where you have an 18-point lead to the Titans. One of the worst teams to make the playoffs in a decade in the NFL. Where the quarterback throws a touchdown pass to himself.
Last time that happened, I was in the playoff game. It was Brad Johnson. He threw one. So at least the Chiefs are doing things that we had seen before, at least once in NFL history.
CC, I can't say I'm surprised. I should know it was coming. I told you I shouldn't buy into this team. Told you I shouldn't put my faith in this team. I had the Chiefs for the second straight year. I truly believe the Kansas City Chiefs could have beaten the Patriots in the playoffs. And for the second straight year, they're not going to get a chance because they blow a home playoff game. That's all I got. Is the show still on?
It's a tough loss. It's a tough loss, but you could be the Jets and not.
Okay, so that was barely 6 years ago. Now, if you know Nick Wright, who actually was going on that diatribe, his tune has changed quite a bit. In fact, he's even a little too over the top, rah-rah for the Chiefs, even for me, for a national show. But regardless, that's not the point. The point is, that is the history of this team. It was almost comical. Everyone else found it amusing how and that's actually what made it even more miserable. They were good enough to make the playoffs. Many times they were, well, not many times, but a handful of times they were even the number 1 seed. I mean, they would go into the playoffs with a 13-3 record, a 12-4 record, number 1 seed, guaranteed at least a first or second round win, and miss 3 field goals to lose 10-7. And that happened year after year after year. So this whole new world that we're living in is weird and almost surreal and kind of, hard to adapt to even for Chiefs fans. But I do have to say that it did all finally change. You know, Alex Smith and Andy Reid. The funny thing is you hear that in that clip, Nick Wright starts by talking about these massively blown leads and these just disastrous, unthinkable playoff losses. And he refers to, and 2 of them were by teams coached by Andy Reid. He went on in that episode to talk about whether or not Andy Reid was ever going to be able to get over the hump. If Andy Reid was really, if he really had a future with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll tell you something. First of all, let's talk about Andy Reid for just a second. In my life, so Andy Reid took over the franchise. He took over the reins of head coach back in 2013. Before that, the year before that, the Chiefs had gone 2-14. 2 wins, 14 losses. Not only that, but they had undergone one of the biggest, most kind of just astounding tragedies that any team could ever undergo. At one point during the season, Javon Belcher, who played on the team, murdered his fiancée, then drove to the practice facility, ran into the coach and general manager, and took his own life in the parking lot in front of them. I don't think you can possibly get more rock bottom than that. Not just as the team, not as the record, but as an entire entity. I mean, good God. Andy Reid came into that situation and in 2013 went 11-5 and made the playoffs. Andy Reid has been the coach for 12 years. No. This was his 11th season. We've never had a losing season under Andy Reid. We've only missed the playoffs once. When in my lifetime, until up to 2012, the Chiefs won 6 AFC West titles. Since 2013, they have won 8. So I really do, when we talk about was Andy Reid really a Hall of Fame coach before Patrick Mahomes came along? The answer is, what the fuck are you talking about? Of course he was. But having said that, I have to say, I was used to the Chiefs being good and maybe having a fighting chance to win a playoff game at some point before Patrick Mahomes. The first time I watched a game in which he played quarterback, it was actually his first throw. I was struck. I thought, oh, the speed and the precision at which the ball came out of his hand, I'd never seen it before. In fact, it struck me and I thought, how is a receiver ever going to catch a bullet like that? It was different. I'm not like a football expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I noticed it immediately and it changed the entire world for this franchise. So that really is the difference. But having said all of that, now I want to talk about another aspect. So, so that's all to say that this whole stretch of success is long fought for and I think well deserved. Now I want to talk about another aspect of this whole situation I've been seeing online, kind of another aspect of the bitterness and rage within the whole football community. This idea that somehow the NFL is rigged or scripted or somehow tilted in the Chiefs' favor. That is so excruciatingly, spectacularly stupid that it just makes me want to cry for the human race. But more than that, I actually have a clip here. Here's Jason Whitlock, excuse me. Now, this is someone with whom I, nowadays in particular, almost never agree. But here he is addressing that very dumbass idea when it pertains to last night's AFC Championship game. Take a listen.
Instead of crowning Jackson, Sunday further stamped Patrick Mahomes as being in a league of his own among the current crop of quarterbacks. Mahomes elevated his playoff record to 14-3. Jackson fell to 2-4. Don't blame Taylor Swift for the Chiefs reaching their fourth Super Bowl in the last 6 years. Don't blame the referees either. If the refs rigged the AFC Championship, they did so in favor of the Ravens. A series of bogus holding penalties late in the second quarter and early in the third allowed Baltimore to stay in a game that was decidedly one-sided everywhere except the scoreboard. Kansas City should have been leading 28-7 midway through the third quarter. Instead, it was 17-7. If anything, it appeared the NFL wanted Lamar Jackson to advance to his first Super Bowl.
Okay, let me just first and foremost say that I don't agree with that in terms of I don't think the NFL was doing jack shit for anybody. Look, I completely understand that NFL refs are highly imperfect. They do not always get the calls right. In fact, I'd even go so far as to say they almost always get at least 1 to 3 calls wrong in a given football game. Now, that's just expected at this point. They are human beings after all. But that is not to say it's not frustrating and I don't get angry about it. Trust me, I do. But the idea that somehow games are rigged or scripted. Now, it's one thing to joke about that and just kind of laugh it off. But people, a lot of people aren't joking. And to them I say, shut the fuck up, snap out of it. First of all, I don't think it's worth addressing in a serious way, but let's just do it for a second. Let's say that were the case. Let's say, if that were the case, you sad sons of bitches, do you really think that the NFL would ever allow the same team or teams to make it to the Super Bowl year after year, a la the Patriots for that 20-year stretch or the Chiefs more recently? How would that be a smart money-making tactic? If it were really up to them, if they were actually scripting it or influencing it in any way, they would want to make sure it was always different teams competing in the Super Bowl. That would keep the enthusiasm and excitement for those fan bases up. It would keep the enthusiasm and energy up in every NFL city across the entire country. The more spirit and support teams get from their fans, the more money those fans are going to spend on tickets, jerseys, banners, parking passes, cable subscriptions, Peacock subscriptions, and other team merchandise. That money is revenue for the league as a whole. So, if they really were going to script it or influence it, I promise you, the NFL, and to their credit, the NFL actually thinks about and cares about parity. They put a salary cap for every team across the board. That means that teams like the New York Giants, the New York Jets, they are not allowed to spend any more money than the Kansas City Chiefs or the Carolina Panthers or the Jacksonville Jaguars. You cannot say that about Major League Baseball teams. The New York Yankees spend about 3, 4, sometimes 5 times as much as small market teams, and that is why they are always much better, almost always. The NFL cares about parity. If they actually were trying to influence in any way who actually did well, who actually made the Super Bowl, you would see different teams every year.
You fat fuck.
But more than that, and I hate to go here, but it's the absolute truth. This whole notion, this whole idea of, oh, this team wins, it must be rigged. That is 1000% a result of living in Donald Trump's America. I'm not making it political necessarily. I'm just stating a fact. This idea that if something doesn't go exactly how you'd like it to, you can just write it off as being corrupt or dishonest or rigged or scripted.
Excuse me.
That is stupid. That is childish. And that is exactly what he does.
This is not good. This is bad.
I don't need to give you examples. They are so painfully obvious that we live and hear them every goddamn day. The election was stolen. Illegal votes. It was rigged, blah, blah, blah. That's what led to the fucking insurrection. You know, when the Patriots dominated the NFL for literally 20 years, people were absolutely sick of them. People hated them. People were jealous of them. That's what it really was. And they wanted so badly to beat them. And often they did feel like they got preferential treatment in various ways. I felt that way. I mean, to a degree. But that was in regards to little things like a ref being more inclined to give them to let a call go their way here and there. They wanted to they were so enamored by Tom Brady that they didn't want, to penalize him for this or that or that or this. Little things like that. It was occasionally giving him a generous call here and there. Not the entire league conspiring to make sure they get to the Super Bowl. That's where you go from subjective reality, who knows, to cuckoo, la la, nutso land. So, yes, it does bear commenting on because it's crazy. I mean, Jesus, Mother, Mary, and Joseph. If the Chiefs were to lose anyone, first of all, there have been multiple times throughout the season and every season when I'll be watching a Chiefs game and I'll get super pissed because a call didn't go the Chiefs' way or a call didn't get called that was a blatant penalty on the Chiefs. That just happens in football. That's not special or unique to the Chiefs. It's not unique to any team. That's what happens. I never for a second thought, oh, they're just out to get us. They must be corrupt or in on the scheme.
Certain people are zeros.
Snap out of it. And the last thing I'll say, when it comes to all the people who just bitch and moan about Taylor Swift, again, as I started out this rant with, I don't love seeing her between every shot either, but to get mad at her for that, to hate her for that, again,
snap out of it.
I mean, you really think she decides when she goes on television?
No, I don't think so.
Neither do I. With these people getting so angry about it. I mean, really?
This is insanity.
Get over it. Get over it. Chris Long, he's a former NFL player, son of NFL Hall of Famer Howie Long. He has a podcast called the Greenlight Podcast. He addressed this very issue. The whole people getting pissed off about Taylor Swift. And I agreed with him. Here's what he had to say on the topic.
If you didn't take the opportunity to watch Patrick Mahomes through the playoffs because you don't want to see cutaways of Taylor Swift, you have a micro penis. Like that's the only thing that's the only thing I can think of. Like honestly, because this is just some opportunity to prove your masculinity and say, I don't like looking at Taylor Swift. Who gives a fuck, man? This might be the biggest power couple in the history of sports.
Okay. So there you have it, folks. I think, you know what, you can hate the Chiefs, you can dislike the Chiefs, you can want to, what it really comes down to is you're jealous of the Chiefs. I get that. If there's one thing I can say, having lived through my entire life where the Chiefs would never ever get to a Super Bowl, you know how rare and crazy and special this run is. And you appreciate it. And you know what? I don't know if it'll happen for your team, but it might. And if it does, I'll be happy for you. Because because I do not, like you
have a micro penis.
Okay. And the last thing, and this is the last thing I'll say about this, and then we can move on with our lives. Not everyone is just completely hateful and conspiratorial and stupid. Pardon my take, very, very popular sports podcast. They have some reasonable people on that show, like this kid.
I enjoy watching this run of greatness. I know a lot of people are sick of it, but like you're going to look back one day and be like, damn, I got to watch Mahomes and Kelsey do this year after year after year. And it's like, as a neutral party, I'm like, this is cool to watch.
Hank, I want Hank's thoughts right away.
I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
I know you are.
Yeah,
but
that disgusts you, what Jake just said.
Yeah, and it's going to disgust a lot of people, but Jake, I like watching it.
Thank you, Jake. By the way, Travis Kelce, yes, he is still special, and he has been very special in the playoffs. He's 34. He might play next year. He might even play the year after, but that's probably going to be it. So who knows what will happen after that? Who knows what will ever happen? Who knows what will ever happen? Dan Marino played in the Super Bowl, I think his rookie year. He never got back. I mean, listen. Bottom line, Chiefs fans, relish this. Don't take it for granted. I don't think any Chiefs fan does. But to everyone else, all I can say is,
you have a micro penis.
All right, you're listening to The Next Best Thing on Radio Free Brooklyn. I appreciate you letting me get all of that out. Therapeutic. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we can dive into what's going on in the news, what's going on in the world. You're listening to The Next Best Thing on Radio Free Brooklyn, and we will be right back. Radio Free Brooklyn is a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to provide a free and open platform to our community and promote media literacy, education, and free expression. We rely primarily on donations from listeners like you. So, if you'd like to support our mission so we can continue to bring you quality community radio, we invite you to make a one-time donation or monthly pledge at radiofreebrooklyn.org/donate. You can donate as little as $1, and every cent helps us to continue to stay on the air. So please help support independent community media by pledging whatever you can afford. And remember, RFB is a 501c3 nonprofit, so your contribution is tax deductible to the fullest extent of the law. Again, that's radiofreebrooklyn.org/donate.
This is the next best thing.
All right, let's get back to what's going on in the news, what's going on in the world. A young fan of the Kansas City Chiefs was caught on television wearing face paint, a headdress, stuff that I have feelings about, and whatnot. But the complaint wasn't simply about, in fact, it had nothing to do with Native Americans, which is unusual. That's usually what people like to cry foul about when it comes to the Chiefs nowadays. They shouldn't use the term chief. That is stupid. That is wrong. And I'm just not even going to budge on it. I don't even, we could get into it, but that's really not the point of this particular news story. They got on this young fan. I think maybe he's 9 years old. Typically, if people are going to dress up as this kid did, they will paint half their face red and half their face gold or yellow, because that makes sense. Those are the Chiefs' colors. I don't know why this kid did what he did, but instead of painting half his face red and half his face gold, he painted half his face red and half his face black.
Let's talk about.
They weren't upset that he was wearing a headdress. They weren't even upset that his face was painted. His face was painted in war paint. They were upset because they accused him of doing blackface.
Seriously?
You know what? You know why he probably did that? It probably comes down to a simple reason as they probably happen to have black and red face paint at their house, not gold. That's probably why. Halloween wasn't too long ago. They probably just happened to have some red and black face paint, and that's it. And so he painted it half red and half black. The news stories, and this was a national news story that followed that, just catching this kid on TV, accused him of doing blackface. This 9-year-old football Kansas City Chiefs fan. They accused him of doing blackface, and a certain faction of people, called for Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, to take action against this fan. I don't know what they wanted him to do. Ban the kid from games? Kill the kid? I don't know. But here's the thing. We have to be more intelligent than this. We have to be more intelligent than this.
God damn it!
Do we not know what blackface is? Anyone who accuses this kid of doing blackface doesn't know what it is. They don't understand what it is. Blackface is a very specific thing. Doing blackface, I don't really know if that's the term. Performers would paint their faces black specifically to mock and imitate stereotypical, what they consider to be exaggerated, stereotypical African American mannerisms or behaviors or whatever. They were mocking them. They went on stage to mock black people, and they painted their faces black to do so. That is blackface. Minstrel shows, coonery, buffoonery, as Spike Lee would call it. This kid dressed up like so many people do at an NFL game. He was not mocking anybody. And if you want, now, here's the important thing here, because I actually, as stupid as I think it is, when I hear people argue that the Chiefs should change their name, and when I say it's stupid, let me be very clear. I say it's stupid because, for one thing, they often equate it and put it in the same category as the former name of the Washington football team, Redskin. They say, well, if the Redskins change their name, why the Chiefs shouldn't have that name? Why should one have to change it, not the other? Well, that's dumb, because Redskin, I can't believe I've gone over this so many times, but whatever. Redskin is a pejorative. It is an insult. It is a word that, as far as I know, was invented, if not invented, certainly used to degrade, to hurt, to insult a very specific group of people, Native Americans. It is much like the N-word for African American people. It is much like a certain F word for homosexual people. I happen to be Jewish, pretty gay, so I'm just going to say I hate this word, and it actually makes my skin crawl to say it, but faggots. I can't believe there was ever a team called the Washington Redskins. To me, that would be like starting a new team in San Francisco and calling them the San Francisco Faggots. It would never happen. It is so clearly and egregiously offensive that's why I just think it was crazy, and I was 1,000% for changing that name. Chief, okay, so we've got Redskin with, as far as I'm not synonyms, but, that's akin to the N-word, the F word for gay people, kike for Jewish people, people like me, chink for Chinese people, all those terrible, clearly just hateful, nasty words. Chief, what is a chief? A chief is the leader of a tribe. Synonyms for chief are president, boss, captain, captain, president, leader, chief. Those words are very different than the Redskin category, okay? Not only that, but I'm not going to get into it, but if you look at the history of the name, the Kansas City Chiefs, and why they landed on that name, it has nothing to do with Native Americans. It was the nickname of the mayor who got the team to move from Dallas to Kansas City. Not even the point. The point is, so that is stupid in and of itself. And I feel strongly about it, and I can't imagine anyone will ever convince me otherwise. One thing I do, however, understand and feel, recognize why it could be offensive is dressing up, is wearing the headdress, doing the war paint, doing the tomahawk chop. I understand that. I can understand why that would be viewed as kind of mocking Native Americans, and I think that probably should be phased out. I really do. But we're not talking about that here. With this 9-year-old kid, we're not talking about him mocking Native Americans. They're saying he did blackface.
Has the whole world gone crazy?
Which to me actually just goes to show how disingenuous the argument is to begin with. They clearly don't see, like, if they really cared about what they said they were fighting for, how could they so easily shift and kind of, I guess, forget and overlook who it is they're saying is being offended and hurt? If we were having this debate about should he have been wearing war paint and the headdress and should he be dressing up like a Native American, that's one thing. And I could actually, I could see their point very much. But to say he did blackface, to act like he should be banned, this 9-year-old kid, what the fuck are we talking about? Have we all gone fucking crazy? And it does. It damages the arguments, any legitimate argument someone might be making. It damages a legitimate argument to hear people spout nonsense like this. Now, as I said, this was a national story. This was written about in every publication you could think of, and it was debated on various shows. I saw a number of clips on it, but here's the one I wanted to share with you because this perfectly exemplifies what I'm talking about. This is a man and a woman. I can't remember what the organization is. I'll tell you in a minute. But they discuss this this very story, and one of them recognizes just how stupid it really is. And as they discuss it, you hear his colleague, they start talking about the situation at hand. Why are they accusing this 9-year-old kid of doing blackface? That's not what this is. And then they kind of pivot and start talking about the name Chiefs in general. And it devolves into a stupid conversation. Just listen, you'll see.
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell is facing pressure to speak out after a fan at Kansas City Chiefs game at the stadium over the weekend was spotted with black paint covering half of his face and wearing a Native American headdress.
Some Twitter users, however, noted that the article from Deadspin erroneously stated that the fan was wearing blackface. That was in the headline at Deadspin. Users on Twitter pointed out several fans in attendance noted the other half of his face is painted red. So this is another one of those kind of viral social media controversies. The Deadspin article is, crazy in my view. It's headlined, "The NFL needs to speak out against the Kansas City Chiefs fan in blackface." Again, it's a little boy, like he needs to be denounced by the NFL. He is not, committing the very appropriate wrongdoing of darkening his skin to mock black people, which is a historical trope, but is in fact, wearing the colors of the team. The other side is red.
Okay, really quick, couple things I want to point out. First of all, I said I didn't remember the organization. The organization is The Hill. The guy who's saying this is spot on so far. Okay, so let's keep going.
It's just not, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, so the Deadspin article does address some of that. It does say...
Okay, so here's what I want to point out. The man here, again, he's not a Chiefs fan, doesn't come off as a football fan, to be honest, and he's pointing it out, he's calling it for exactly what it is. His colleague, you can tell right from the beginning, it's saying this and blah, 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 blah. You can tell that she sees this and is just knee-jerk to be like, oh, God, cancel. You can tell. His inclination is to be pragmatic and logical about it. Hers is to be emotional and just not very smart about it. Okay, here's their inaction.
The team, the other side is red. It's just not, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, so the Deadspin article does address some of that. It does say, so here's what they say. They say, here's some unanswered questions that are raised by this shot. Why did the camera person give this fan the attention? Why did the producer allow that camera angle to be aired at all? Is that fan a kid, a teenager or a young adult, despite their age, who taught that person that what they were wearing was appropriate? So I do think that the focus is a little bit less on the kid and more on the decision of the
then it's like
camera operators and
why
media
is the
people.
Camera operator opening him up to the criticism of exactly what we're about to do?
Well, no, I think it's a little bit different. So I would say that fans are going to fan, and people are allowed to, write, let's say, a vulgar message on their chest. And you would expect that if someone wrote, eat SHIT, Eagles, that the camera would choose not to put that on national TV, right? It would be considered to be inappropriate. They might get some kind of FCC strike. You can't curse on TV, and you wouldn't zoom in on a sign that said something inappropriate. Now, the question is, if we believe that is the case, is the decision maker, is the camera operator or the producer of the show making a different kind of decision? Is this a reflective of their values and that they think this is appropriate? And then if you abstract that out more broadly, there's this bigger question that the NFL and other leagues have been dealing with for a long time, which is whether or not it's appropriate to have team names and mascots that are Native American people.
Okay, that was a lot of words. I think she missed the mark there big time at the end. Just that last part.
And then if you abstract that out more broadly, there's this bigger question that the NFL and other leagues have been dealing with for a long time, which is whether or not fans should dress up in Native American garb, paint their faces in war paint and whatnot. That's what she should have said. She instead pivoted to names. Which is whether or not it's appropriate to have team names and mascots that are Native American people. So all of this is kind of like a nesting doll of concerns.
Can I just say one quick thing? Truth be told, yes, the team name is Kansas City Chiefs. And yes, a lot of fans do dress up in that garb and face paint. And I get it. And I've said that that's a conversation I'm open to and more than willing to have. And, I think that could be phased out. The mascot, look this up. The mascot of the Kansas City Chiefs is actually not a Native American. It's not someone dressed in that garb. It's a wolf. The mascot of the Kansas City Chiefs is KC Wolf. It's a wolf character.
I don't think, to the extent that people are mad or focusing on this little boy, I agree that that's wrong. And it's clear that he's not doing blackface in a traditional way of what blackface means. But I don't think that
no, he's not doing blackface at all. He's not doing blackface at all. One portion of his face is painted black because he's dressed up as a Native American, not blackface.
Doll of concerns. I don't think, to the extent that people are mad or focusing on this little boy, I agree that that's wrong. And it's clear that he's not doing blackface in a traditional way of what blackface means. But I don't think that quite gets you out of these bigger questions about the league's obligation to deal with these kind of messaging issues around their mascots.
Sure. I mean, it does. There was a recent controversy that got covered at Reason while I also work of this boy at a middle school who had on the black. His entire face was not covered with black. He had like the black kind of war paint look, which is a sports thing. Mm-hmm. It's just a very different thing. Mm-hmm. And he was suspended from school because of it. Actually, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression defended him as well. I cite them a lot lately, pointing out that he can't. This is legitimate expression, not political expression, just expression, and you can't punish him for this. It was a public high school. So there's a lot of conflation. Like over time, I think some media critics, some of these sites like Deadspin have taken a very broad view of what counts as blackface all of a sudden that is not based in like historical reality and is just like looking for
exactly
people, usually kids, to be mad at. So that was kind of the backdrop as this was happening. Obviously, there are some people who think the Chiefs logo and the headdress is offensive and is not what they should do. Obviously, other teams, sports teams have.
Again, I want to be clear. The Chiefs logo is an arrowhead. The Chiefs logo is an arrowhead with the letters KC intertwined in it. The headdress is not part of their logo. It never has been.
Have pivoted away from Native American names and imagery and that kind of thing. It's like people can make up for their own mind whether they're offended by the Chiefs name, that kind of thing. But
yeah, the Chiefs is rough. I mean, look, I understand growing up with a franchise and you're committed to it. My family's from Cleveland. We've obviously just shifted to the Guardians. Everyone seems kind of okay with it. We're here in D.C. The Nationals were the Redskins. Yeah, the Redskins.
The Redskins.
I mean, like,
wrong.
I think the Nationals isn't as good a name as the Guardians, but that's for DC to work out. Picking a bad new name.
The Commanders.
The Commanders. The Commanders. Yeah. So that is.
See, she doesn't even know what she's talking about. The Redskins became the Commanders. The Nationals, they were not. I mean, there was a baseball team in Washington called the Senators at one point. Anyway. I just think that this is an example of conflating things. I'm so with the guy here. And I love that he doesn't come off as a sports fan at all. He's certainly not a KC fan. People are going to say, oh, this is just because this is my team. It's really not. I mean, I don't like the idea of conflating one thing like the Redskin name, which really was offensive and really was crazy and should have been changed, to something like the Chiefs, which is totally different. And frankly, I'm hardly the only one who thinks so. I've played all sorts of sound on it before. I don't really need to again, but I will. Here's Cenk Uygur, the founder and biggest personality on the Young Turks, the most far left, I would say woke channel or network ever. Here's his opinion on the matter.
Do you think the Washington Redskins being forced to change their names was the right move? So that one's tricky too. So because now you have that name that's over the top offensive. There is no other meaning for that word other than to be derisive, right? Then you've got the Indians and you say, well, their mascot's terrible, but the name itself is not necessarily offensive. Then you got the Chiefs, a perfectly acceptable name. There's nothing wrong with it. Seminoles is actually...
Did you hear that? The Chiefs, it's perfectly acceptable name. There's nothing wrong with it. Thank you. You can't get more far left than him. And he's logical and intelligent enough to know that. Here's Bob Costas.
It seems like an appropriate time to acknowledge the ongoing controversy about the name Redskins. Let's start here. There's no reason to believe that owner Daniel Snyder or any official or player from his team harbors animus toward Native Americans or wishes to disrespect them. This is undoubtedly also true of the vast majority of those who don't think twice about the long-standing moniker. And in fact, as best can be determined, even a majority of Native Americans say they are not offended. But having stipulated that, there's still a distinction to be made. Objections to names like Braves, Chiefs, Warriors, and the like strike many of us as political correctness run amok. These nicknames honor rather than demean. They're pretty much the same as Vikings, Patriots, or even Cowboys. And names like Blackhawks, Seminoles, and Chippewas, while potentially more problematic, can still be okay, provided the symbols are appropriately respectful, which is where the Cleveland Indians, with the combination of their name and...
Okay, you don't even need to hear the rest. He's clearly making a distinction, and that's all I'm asking people to do. Use your brains. Not every person accused, like Al Franken, and frankly, Governor Andrew Cuomo, they are not Bill Cosby or Harvey Weinstein. Very, very, very different. I just can't believe, and this poor kid, I can't even imagine. Like, he just dressed up to go to the fucking Chiefs game with his dad, and now he's on national news being accused of blackface? I mean, he's in the 3rd grade, for Christ's sake. And that is the news of the day.
If you enjoy this show, please remember to subscribe and rate us on iTunes. Apple Podcasts, or whatever it's called. We're also available on Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Luminary, TuneIn, basically wherever podcasts are found. If you can find podcasts there, you can find us there. Follow us on Twitter. We're at
Next Best Radio. That's at Next Best Radio.
And of course, feel free to follow me. I'm at JONB as in boy, LERNER. That's JON, no H. B as in boy, LERNER. That's my handle on Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff.
The Chiefs are on the warpath. Go Chiefs, go! The Chiefs are on the warpath. Go Chiefs, go! Thunder down the field and lay 'em low. Go Chiefs, go! Go Chiefs, go! Go Chiefs, go! The Chiefs are on the warpath. Go Chiefs, go! The Chiefs are on the warpath. Go Chiefs, go! Thunder down the field and lay 'em low. Go Chiefs, go! Go Chiefs, go! Go Chiefs, go! Go bravely into battle, standing proud and tall. Swift as an arrow and strong as a mountain, a chief is the bravest of all. And the Chiefs are on the warpath. Go Chiefs, go! The Chiefs are on the warpath. Go Chiefs, go! Thunder down the field and lay 'em low. Go Chiefs, go! Go Chiefs, go! Go Chiefs, go! Go bravely into battle, standing proud and tall. Swift as an arrow and strong as a mountain, a chief is the bravest one of all. And the Chiefs are on the warpath. Go Chiefs, go!